And I'm quite a bit late to the party with the S8, but I think it's pretty neat for me to review them, because a friend of mine, Michael for After Sound Reviews, you should totally check his channel, kind enough to lend me one, the S8, and I also have the Blessing 2s, which I really like, and I think it's pretty interesting to compare them, because they're from the same company. They are tuned pretty similarly. They have a very similar tonality. They're not very similar in tuning though. They have a very similar tone. These are also twice the price of the Blessing 2s. So it's interesting for me to know if I could justify buying these over those, which I will answer in this review. So yeah, this is obviously not my unit. This is Michael's unit. Go check his channel, After Sound Review. I'll probably link it down below, or probably not. I might forget. But yeah, thank you, Michael, for lending this to me. I'll probably lend you my Z1R like in the future. Oh yeah, spoiler alert, I'll be reviewing the Z1R later. In this table we have the Blessing 2, of course, the Sony EX1000, the Dunu Luna, and the BGV PDM6. I'll give a general comparison with these three to explain the sound characteristics and the technicalities of the S8 better, but I would be more detailed with the comparison with the Blessing 2 because of the reasons I've mentioned before. So yeah, the TLDI, it's a safe, very safe tuned IM, which has little to no flaws in their tuning, and very excellent coherence and detail retrieval, though it is cut, I guess. Its Achilles heel is probably the configuration, the lack of dynamic drivers, if you really love the dynamic driver sound. Else, this doesn't really have any problematics in their sound and presentation, especially for the $700 price tag that they have. That's the TLDR. For build quality, it is very similar with the Blessing 2s. I think it's as weighty. It's a bit smaller in size. Though for both of them, they are pretty big in terms of IMs in general. Though the S8 is much more humane, I guess, in their sheer size and girth, I guess. Though I don't have any problems with fitting, they do seal very hard that I would hear myself walking if I walk around with these, and it might be a problem for you if you commute a lot. I guess you walk around with your IMs. If you just sit at home or like lie down on a couch, you won't notice any problem, because there aren't any. The cable here is just like the Blessing 2 cable. It's pretty stiff. It's not the best, definitely. It's terminated to a actually 3.5mm cable, but Michael terminated it to like 2.5mm, and I use this adapter to run it off my topping. So yeah, the cable is just the regular Moondrop cable, like the Starfields or the Blessing 2s. Yeah, they really need to step up the game, the cable game, in my opinion. Oh my god, the camera is panning to shit. Okay. So yeah, the ear tips are the usual Blessing 2 type of ear tips, so with the wider bore, right? Like wider ear hole, like wider hole for the wider nozzle, I guess. So yeah, it's kind of like the Blessing 2 accessories. The box even also the exact same box case as the Blessing 2. About the sound, now we get to the bass. Here is shit. No, it's not the bass is not shit. The bass is distinctively good quality BA bass. It's not just regular BA thin bass. It is actually a very well implemented BA bass. It is not. It doesn't have that DD natural decay and impact like in the Blessing 2s. It sounds BA. You'll notice that it's a BA bass, but you will appreciate that the bass is implemented very well. It is more sub bass focused, and it doesn't have any bloat. It's fast, it's snappy. I guess it's pretty snappy too. Yeah, it is well textured, while I don't for definitely well textured for a BA. So an overall excellent bass for BAs. The mid-range is almost perfect in their presentation. Male vocal sounds great, female vocal sounds great. It doesn't accentuate any type of frequencies that would make anything sound wonky or weird or nothing, while something like the Blessing 2 would have quite a less engaging male vocals. However, the female vocals is a bit forward in the Blessing 2s, while not as forward as the S8 in terms of presentation, but they sound further in the Blessing 2s, and we'll get to that later in the imaging and sound stage. So yeah, nothing is really wonk or wrong or annoying in the mid-range. Yeah, that's I guess that's it. The treble, however, is noticeably BA, where when you listen to something like the DM6, probably it is a very BA type of sound, or the Campfire Andromeda is also a very BA type of sound. But while this is not as BA as the Andromedas, these also have that type of BA grain type, that grainy type of texture to their treble. Likewise, the Andromedas, or even the U12T, the 64 audio U12T, has that type of quality. So it's not because of the mistakes of the tuning or anything, or like a peak somewhere in the upper treble. The U12T does actually have a peak on the upper treble that I don't really like, but these don't really have that peak on the upper treble. But I still notice that type of BA grain, type of timbre in their presentation in the treble. Else they don't sound sibilant, sharp, or anything. It's very safe. It's in a perfect place, I guess. Yeah, fantastic tuning, especially for this type of this price, like this cheap price of $700, in my opinion. In contrast with the Blessing 2s, the Blessing 2s have, in my opinion, a bit lacking in forwardness in the treble region, the treble proper and extension, which makes the S8 sounds a bit more engaging and a bit more exciting in their treble region. Now we get to the technicalities. The timbre here is still noticeably BA. It's not I don't know, it's called technicalities, but the timbre here is definitely still BA sounding. It lacks the presentation of reality. I don't know if it's actually a very ethereal term, like the presentation of reality when you listen to, for example, the Sony X1000 or the Z1R. You would have that presence of something real is playing, though the artificial nature of the BA drivers makes these sound a bit artificial, in my opinion. Likewise in the Blessing 2s. However, with the dynamic drivers of the Blessing 2s and a tad slower transients of the Blessing 2 might make it sound more organic, especially in their lower frequencies. Their mid-range, upper mid-range to treble region are also noticeably BA, but for a different reason. That it's not the grainy type of BA like the S8, but more of a smearing type of upper mid-range type of. It's quite difficult to explain. It's a bit quite a smearing effect in the upper mid-range of the Blessing 2 that gives off that artificial type of timbre. The tonality is very pleasant. Everything sounds proper, I guess, in the S8. For soundstage and imaging, I think it's fantastic, but I would give it to the Blessing 2. A bit, just a tiny bit superior in that region. The Blessing 2 has the ability of creating forward depth, which is very, very unnatural for an IM to have, and I haven't seen it in any other IMs under $1,000. I've noticed that forward depth in IMs like the Z1R, but in the Blessing 2, in the S8, not yet, I guess. However, with the more forward and graininess of the treble in the S8, the separation kind of takes a toll. But I think it's more to the how the Blessing 2 rolls off the treble, and it has that type of artificial separation made for the Blessing 2. So the separation is actually more natural and less artificial in the S8. However, if you just look at how one note is more separated than the next, I think the Blessing 2 is more separated there, but it is quite a bit forced separation, in my opinion. It doesn't sound like what it's supposed to sound. The separation is a bit artificial in the Blessing 2. Imaging wise, just purely left to right imaging, they're both very similar at that category. Forward imaging output, the Blessing 2 a bit better than the over the S8. Yep, I guess that's it. The resolution, however, S8 beats the Blessing 2 because of the treble roll-off and the note definition, the speed and of the S8. So, in conclusion, with the comparison between these two, I don't think that the S8 is a defined, legit step up from the Blessing 2s. Though, depending on your priorities, it might just be one, but I couldn't say with the utmost confidence that the S8 is the better IM. I would prefer the tuning of the S8. It has better resolution, it has more defined notes, but the graininess and the bass overall and also the expansiveness of the stage, I would still pick the Blessing 2 over the S8. So it kind of depends on what you're really looking for. Some people even prefer the tonality of the Blessing 2 due to that treble, I guess. But I still prefer the S8. It's for the treble. So yeah, that's interesting actually because it's twice more expensive from the same company. Against the Sony X1000, the resolution is, though still not as quite resolving as the 2, definitely up there with the Sony X1000 and the Luna, but the general tuning is much better than these two. The stage is comparable with the EX1000. It's a bit wider than the Lunas. So yeah. Their imaging capabilities, in my opinion, is quite similar actually. It doesn't, while the Sony is a bit lateral type of imaging, the Luna is a bit more 3D type of imaging. It's better, I guess. It gives a better sense of space. However, it's not as wide as a stage. Maybe I would argue that the S8 has a more balanced type of presentation in the technicalities. It doesn't really tilts towards any. Even the tuning, it doesn't really just has like something that's really good at, like the EX1000 have a very good resolution, but it's not very balanced in its tuning, and the bass texture is very good here. But yeah, these are just very good overall. And about the Luna, we already have a separate video for the comparison with the Luna. I think it's more optimal to check that video because we get quite in depth in there, and there is also Jason's opinion there too. Just browse the channel, you can find it. So I guess that's it for the review. Hope you like the video. Don't forget to watch Jason's and go to Michael's channel. See you next time. Godspeed.